Okay, so before we actually dive into our topic today, which is the Greek natural philosophers, I want to take a moment and acknowledge some flaws in how this unit is set up. I have set this up basically as a series of stories about individuals. So we're talking about individual scientists throughout history. There's kind of a fundamental flaw in this, which is that when I say, oh, I'm going to start out by telling you the stories of specific people, that can only happen if, one, the particular bits of science were done by individual people rather than big teams or large groups or even generations of scientists, and two, that history has to have survived. So before we even begin this unit, I want to point out there's a little bit of a flaw here. Certain stories aren't going to be able to be told. If there is a group of people whose history has been deliberately destroyed, then I'm not going to know that history to be able to pass it on to you. There are many groups of people whose stories have been deliberately removed from history. When Europe was in the Dark Ages, there were cities of millions of people in Central and South America. Enormous cities. And that history has been deliberately removed. We know that the Mayans had a written language, had books, had stories, had loads of texts. And we know this because we actually destroyed all but 6 Mayan books. There's a handful of codexes that were kept by a single priest. All of the rest of their written works were destroyed. So I can't tell you the stories of their scientists because those stories were deliberately removed from history. And this is true for many groups. There's lots of people whose histories have been deliberately destroyed. And I can't tell you their stories. Yes, Shen?
What questions are we going to talk about
Today we're going to talk about 1, 2, 4, and 7. The other group of people whose stories I can't tell using this format is the stories that aren't about one person, but are about entire peoples. So, for example, the greatest work of bioengineering that has ever been done on this planet is the creation from teosinte, this tiny little plains grass, into corn, a nutrient-dense, calorie-dense staple crop. It is an incredible work of bioengineering, the likes of which the world has never seen since. And it was done not by one person, not by a whole team of scientists, but by generations of a people working together to create something incredible. And this format, where I talk about specific individuals, doesn't do a good job of capturing stories like that, stories about entire groups of people accomplishing things together. And just because I have set this up to talk about individuals does not mean that the works of entire peoples are somehow any less valuable. So before we even begin, I want you to just know there's already a little bit of a layer of whose story is being told here that is not, fully embracing all of humanity. And I just want us to know that going in. This is a potential flaw in how I have chosen to organize this unit. I want to be upfront about that. The reason why I choose to do it this way, telling about individuals, is because I believe in the power of stories and in the power of your interest in specific people and your ability to use your basic human empathy to connect with individuals can make you care about them. And if you care about things, you're more likely to remember them. And so that's why I've chosen to organize it in the way that I have. And that choice has consequences that are imperfect and result in certain stories not being told. So I just want to be clear about that going in. Everyone understand? All right.